Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of Midweek Matters. I'm your host, James Graham, joined by Charlie White here today, looking fresh.
Good to see you, James. You're looking fresh. Well, the middle-aged man sitting opposite me.
Ah, yes. The words of Dave Donaghy.
Yeah, it did get to you, didn't it? As soon as we obviously had Dave Donaghy in the box in Brisbane, very kind of him to come on. It was a good chat.
Broncos CEO. Taking all the tough questions.
But then after, as soon as he left the commentary box, you're like, how dare he call me a middle-aged man?
Well, it just blindsided me because it's the first time I've ever been put into that category. I do feel it was influenced more by the people who I was with rather than like me being there.
Gordon, tell us, what would he be, 55-ish?
Yeah.
50 plus? Dobbo's younger than you think.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Dobbo looks more in his 50s, but I think he's late 40s. And then Hoops is an enigma.
Yeah, what? How old? Yeah,
I think Hoops is like 45, but he looks like he could be like 38.
Yeah. But, so for me, I'm 39, and to be categorized as a middle-aged man, well, it was brought up on the show that the average life expectancy is around about 80. And the fact that I'm nearly 39, like I'm nearly at the halfway, and then therefore a middle-aged man. But I've looked at this maths very differently. So at what stage would you say that you become a man, Charlie? You're certainly not born a man.
Well, it depends. In Jewish culture, it's 13. In other cultures around the world, I think in Africa, you consider a man younger than you are in Australia.
Let's focus on
Western cultures. You want to focus on?
I think let's go off the culture that we're in.
Well, I felt like I was a man when I was like 12.
Oh God!
But if you,
you know what, you might have felt that way, but you're being correct.
Yeah, but I felt really old. I remember as a young kid feeling old and feeling like I was an adult.
Mate, this isn't like a trauma session for you, is it?
No. I smoked my first cigarette when I was 13. So does that make me a man? I drank my first beer. I got drunk for the first time when I was 13, I think. Does that make me a man?
Well, I think
I won't say it when I lost my virginity.
I think from a legal perspective, it would be deemed 18. From a full, and I think that would probably align with physical development. Mm-hmm. Although you probably,
so you think
probably do, not in terms of like you've stopped growing by then. In terms of your height, you're still feeling yourself out, like filling out. But let's look at the football career, right?
Yeah.
Lockie Galvin, he's just a kid. Tallyn Da Silva, he's just a kid. Not quite a man yet, is he?
No, I agree. What was your point that you were trying to make then? So are you saying that middle-aged is, so once you're an adult, you're starting your life?
No. I'm not saying you're starting your life.
Okay.
I'm saying you're beginning your life. You start the category of man.
Of adulthood.
Yeah. So let's say, the frontal cortex isn't properly developed until around the age of like mid-20s.
Yeah, 25, I think.
Yeah,
even.
something like that. Yeah. So let's do a conservative 20 is when you become a man. And then the average age is 80. Well, what's halfway between 20 and 80?
Halfway between 20 and 80 is 50.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And I sit at 39. I don't think I'm in the middle-aged category.
I think you'd live longer than 80 as well, given you live a pretty healthy life, you train a lot, you keep yourself fit, you do all that sort of stuff. I think you'd probably, I've seen your diet, you eat very clean. I think you'd probably be looking at more in your 90s as well. So I think for you probably 50, you might even get to 100.
Oh, jeez.
I know you don't want to get to 100. I know you sort of want to get to 60, but...
All the race is well and truly run, Charlie. I am... I reckon I'd take... If someone offered me 80 now, I'd take it.
Well,
assuming cognitive...
capabilities.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself as like a guy who cares about longevity much or not really? You know how they got those blue zones and all that sort of stuff now that everyone cares about?
You know what? It's an interesting conversation, this. So lifespan, health span, averages. So I remember speaking to the doctor at St. Helens around this, and because of the practice where he worked, it happened to be next to the suburb of Liverpool, or the area of Liverpool that I lived in and grew up in. And he was telling me about this particular area, that just by being born and growing up there, your life expectancy is 10 years below the national average, roughly speaking.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like, why is that? And he went on and listed a number of reasons. Like, and it would be the same for most Australians now. Like, just because that is the average, there are so many environmental factors that will affect that and determine that. So one of the things he spoke about in that area is things like youth smoking. You started at 13, so you're
Stopped by 20 though.
Stopped by 20. Just a good solid 7-year stint. So, mate, were you on the durries for that long?
Yeah, I'd smoked ciggies from that age. Yeah, but it wasn't heaps. We'd probably have a couple a day. You'd probably sneak off at lunch to a quiet area at school, smoke a couple of ciggies, and then get back. You know, it was that sort of stuff. It was harmless teenage fun.
Whoa! The buy round does not endorse that message of harmless teenage fun.
No, of course not. We don't endorse it, but teenagers do it. You know, some teenagers do it.
Sorry, I know we're going to sidetrack here. One of my favourite memories from school, this lad who I went to school with, Paul Yates, he was like a knockabout, let's put it that way, constantly suspended and all that. And he came in, he came into English class a little bit late. I think it was English class. Came in a little bit late, and the teacher goes, "Paul, you come in late, stinking of cigarettes." And he just went, "I was having a poo."
Oh,
like absolute classic. Just
brilliant.
But no, back to my story about the doctor. So the area that of Liverpool that was very literally neighbouring towns or neighbouring suburbs, 10 years below the national average. And you know, one of the things I asked him, I said, "Doc, is that to do with like maybe teenage pregnancy?" He goes, "Oh no, actually that increases from that particular area the life expectancy."
Right, that's interesting.
Yeah, but because I think it gives
more of a purpose.
More of a purpose, direction, a focus.
Yeah, right.
So it stops those young women making certain choices.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, mate, there's parts of Australia where the life expectancy is like 45. And it's due to things like chemical exposure in water and things like that.
Yeah.
And clean access to clean water not being as good. You know, smaller communities. I think Friendly Geordie's like a YouTuber did some video on this town that has a life expectancy of 48 years old in Australia. It's like a very, very small remote town.
That is insane.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. But I do look at those type of things. And, you know, obviously we spoke a fair bit about concussion and choices on Monday's episode with Cheese. It does interest me what both positively and negatively affects all-cause mortality, health span, lifespan. Like, so
they're called blue zones. Places where you live longer in.
Well, and part of that is environmental, and part of that is cultural.
Yeah. Like you need to be looked after. So if those countries where family life's really tight, like a place like Italy, where grandparents are looked after.
Sense of purpose.
Exactly.
Respect of the elderly.
You know, that Italy's got a really strong culture of family, and life expectancy is great for older people because their quality of life is great. Whereas in places like England and Australia, like often older people get thrown to home, and that's not good for longevity.
It's usually
for older people.
The downfall, like you say, that sense of purpose, walking up hills, like carrying things.
Yeah, up hills
like
is a big thing.
Even the most, I guess, fundamental basic task of eating a meal together, and having everybody in the family be a part of that, I guess, cooking or making process.
Obviously, quality of food as well. Like Mediterranean diet's really good for you for longevity. Yeah. It's funny though, like, even I think there was listening to Ben Elton recently. You know Ben Elton, that English author? Yeah. He was doing this talk because he's a big drinker, like loves drinking. And he was talking to this guy about longevity. And he was saying there was a study that came out that even casual drinking can lower your life expectancy by 2 years. But he's like, why would you care about 2 years? Like quality of life, you want to live this boring life of, not socializing and not doing anything to live for 2 more years. And also they're the shit years at the end as well.
Well, this is often how you play that game in your head and go, well, hang on a minute. If it gave me 2 years in my 20s, I'd consider it.
Yeah.
But it's going to give me 2 extra years at that age. Like
86, 87.
Yeah. And look, obviously, we not everybody is as fortuitous as as those people that get to 80. But we live in an amazing society where most people will get to that stage. I think as little as 150 years ago, the average person that was born, 25% didn't get past their 5th birthday. And a further 25% didn't see past their teen years.
Wow.
A lot of deaths during pregnancy, childbirth, that sort of stuff. But things now that we look at sauna use, but is it the actual use of this? There's a correlation, but it doesn't necessarily mean a causation. So because people go to the sauna, is that a reflection of their lifestyle in general?
Privilege as well.
Well, yes. Well,
like if you've got a sauna at home, you're obviously living a very luxurious life.
Well, that you basically what money can help you do is gives you access to better healthcare, and obviously stress is another one. Lack of financial stress, all that sort of stuff plays a big part in life expectancy. But for me, Charlie, I don't know. Like I know I've done a lot of damage through my sporting career, but it's also given me a lot of benefits as well. Now,
same as teenage smoking.
Yeah.
Amongst your peers.
We're in the same boat, aren't we? I guess now there are elements to my life that you would go, oh look, he really cares about his overall long-term health, and there'd be elements that you go, oh God, no, he does not. Interesting.
It's all about balance, mate.
That is, you balance the scales. This is not medical advice for anyone out there listening either. What's interesting you say about culture and Italy and those blue zones? My best mate from back home, he works for Amazon, and there was like he had to travel to Milan for work basically, and there was people from all sorts of different countries that were based in Milan there. And the Italians were blowing up that they had to do dinner at 7:30. They were like, "This is embarrassing."
Like too early.
Way too early for them.
Yeah.
Where I'm going 7:30 for dinner. You joking?
Well, you had a crack at me the other night. Well, I was cooking dinner at 7:30, and James was like, "Oh fuck, geez, you young kids having dinner late." I'm like 7:30, mate, relax.
But they were blowing up saying that's too early.
Yeah,
and like it's just funny how different like when we talk about multiculturalism as something as simple as mealtime, we can't agree on.
No, I prefer the Italian way though.
What, eat late?
Eat late, also because then you also stay up late. Like you go partying in Europe, and like they're out till the late hours.
But
also
about the partying. For
no, it's not. But just thinking about what I'm doing in my life and how the culture impacts me now. The other thing as well you get with the Italian culture is the siesta as well. I love the idea of everyone closing up shop for a couple of hours, just hanging out with your loved ones. Like their work-life balance is so much better.
You know what? I hate that phrase.
Why?
The work-life balance.
Yeah, why? That's what it's about, man. It's not all about work. It's not all about work.
The term work-life balance is, and I'm sure I would have used it, but I've learned recently that it's idiotic because work is part of your life.
Of course. And
so
that's why you got to balance it.
So what do you do?
You got to balance it. Everything is...
What do you mean? Well, because if work is part of your life, then there's no balance. It's just part of your life. Make it part of your life. It's not about balance.
So you want to say work-social balance. Is that what you'd rather people say?
I think that would be a more accurate...
it's a very small thing to argue over, though. It's a very minute thing. Because everything is about balance. You got to balance your work, your social, your loved ones, your family, everything. And you think you're doing a good job, and then there's someone else who feels they're not getting enough time of you and all that sort of stuff. Like it's all about balance, mate.
What's that? It's not all about balance. That's BS. It's about lots of different things. But
No, because you
can't
could be
say it's
working
all
really
about
hard. You
balance.
could be working really hard and kicking all your goals in your career, doing amazingly well. But then,
Well, there's always trade-offs. You can't.
exactly. Your mum might feel like you haven't called her in a while or something like that. Like, but because you're busy with work, but you're in the zone.
Yeah, you can have, I guess, in a free society, you can have almost anything, but you can't have everything. And then this is the thing that people, in my opinion, don't realize. It's like, oh, I want the great career, but I also want a mad social life and be able to travel and all that stuff. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
No.
It doesn't work that way. It's like you can have either or. You can't have it both ways.
Depends though. Depends. Like you can sort of, if you can massage things correctly, if you can finagle things around work well enough, you could, because you get annual leave. You know, it's only if you work for yourself that you can't really get the time off.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah, either way. I think going back to like the mealtime thing, I think it obviously with a lot of things going on in the world right now, if we can't agree on what is an acceptable dinner time for multiculturalism, it's going to be difficult to figure out more complex problems.
That's why maybe we should just leave each other alone and let everyone just go about their own business.
And but I mean, when those tribes come together, or it's that melting pot, like at Amazon, like it was for my friend. He's probably he lives in England. He's got kids as well, so they're probably earlier eaters. He thought 7:30 was just like all right, but like the blow up from the Italians was, he said it was next level.
A couple of questions for us from this week.
Before we get there, speaking about life, spoke about me being a middle-aged man, which I've decided I'm not, because middle age is
50 in your eyes. So you're 10 years to go. 10 years
before
away.
I'm like slap bang in the middle. I don't think I'm entering even into that stage yet, but there's a buy-round birthday happening this week.
Yeah, 30. I turn 30 on Monday, next Monday.
Next Monday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah. How you feeling about being 30?
To be fair, I haven't really thought about it too much.
No.
I haven't really thought about it too much. I'm trying to organise maybe something with my friends on Saturday, but I haven't. I've left it very last minute.
Yeah, booking a table.
I don't think I'm going to be able to book a table anywhere on Saturday. So maybe I might. I don't know. Might just have a house party at mine on Saturday.
Yeah, nice.
I'll figure that out. Not for probably boring for everyone listening at home, but yeah, turning 30.
See, I know who you are deep down, and I know that the image that you're trying to portray, and you are in the category of a person that has like, oh, it's my 30th. It's like on my birthday week.
Nah, not at all. I don't
so
care
you won't
about
be you won't be here next Monday because you'll have that off because it's my birthday. Like, oh, my work-life balance on my birthday. I can't be have you got Monday off next week?
No, I don't know what I'm doing on Monday. It's a long way away. Monday, I might not come to Triple M on Monday, yeah, because at Triple M, they let you have your day off on your birthday.
Oh, my God.
So I probably won't go to Triple M. I'll probably pop in here, though, when you guys do the recording.
Mate, what? Is that a joke?
No, they don't. They don't have to work on your birthday at Triple M.
Mate, you have to go to school.
To be fair, I probably will have to work my birthday at Triple M because I do with something that, like, there's not necessarily anyone who can sub in and do it on that day because everyone else is busy.
You're that special.
No, just because it's not. We don't have the manpower, you know.
You're that special. No one could possibly do your job, Charlie. I've seen you work behind the scenes, and I think you're right.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Yeah, no, but I've got on my birthday, I'm going to probably do some with friends on Saturday, and I'll do some with my family on Monday.
Yeah.
Got a big basketball game though on Monday, which I'm sure everyone will care about.
3-on-3.
It's 5-on-5, mate.
5-on-5.
Full court stuff. But anyway, let's get to the message of the week.
Let's do it.
Because we probably waffled on there for about half an hour.
That's all right, Charlie.
All right. The question here is from Anthony, who's emailed us in. He wants the current suspension system reviewed. So he said basically it should operate on a points-based system that reflects the importance of each match. For example, a regular season game could be equivalent to a 1-week suspension, and a finals match would be worth 4 weeks, and a grand finals match would be valued at 5 weeks. Under this system, if a player is suspended for 4 weeks during the preliminary final, they should still be eligible to play in the grand final, with the suspension carrying over to the following season. A grand final should not be treated the same as a regular round in terms of suspension value. It's the biggest game of the year, and the fans want to see the best players on the field. I really like that idea because you could give it to the player. All right, you can miss the grand final or you miss 5 weeks next year. And I think most players would take the 5 weeks next year. And it's a great point. You want to see the best players playing grand final. It's awful when players get suspended.
Yeah, you know what? I actually really like that idea, and I think you could possibly play with the idea of extending that even further and just having no suspensions count during finals and just have them all kick in at the beginning of the following season. That can't be abused for representative games, and it can't be abused for trial games. It has to be genuine. You miss round 1 of the NRL. It's not, we're going to use it in the trials or the All-Stars match or any internationals that take place. I think that is something that could really benefit the final series as a whole. And I'm sure the players would love that.
Yeah.
Definitely one for the next collective bargaining agreement.
If you want your questions answered as well, just email us thebuyround@gmail.com or comment on Spotify, comment on YouTube, message us on Instagram, TikTok, wherever. The other good one we got was from Luke Blunt, who emailed in saying he's heard us talk a lot about the 2 points for the bye being unfair or leading to the wrong team being at the top. However, he says the 2 points is there to ensure that the ladder is based off total number of losses, not wins. Right now, leading into round 17, the ladder is perfectly weighted, so the least losses are at the top, and the most losses, at the bottom, and then for and against decide positioning from there. So you send us in the top 8 and the top 9. Sorry, and the top 9's correct. So you've got Dogs have got 2 losses, Raiders 3, Storm 4, Warriors 4. Then there's a bunch of teams on 7 losses, and the Dolphins on 8. So the point he raises is kind of correct there, Jimmy. It's actually sorted by number of losses, and if you look at the ladder overall, he's not wrong.
You know what? I've never viewed it that way, but it's actually correct.
Yeah. So it's not sorted by number of wins, but number of losses. So you look at the Titans, they've got 10 losses, they're on bottom. There's a bunch of teams on 9.
Yeah.
Bunch of teams on 8. It's all in order.
I see what he's saying, and that makes total sense. It's never been explained to me like that before. What I just don't like, though, Charlie, is the fact that the Rabbitohs have 6 wins, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 teams on 5 wins that they sit below. Like, I think that's where people get a bit, what's going on here? I understand that that's how it's sorted, but I still want to see the most wins be higher up, or if you've got more wins in a team, you should be above them. That's
where maybe you could sort of ladder by win percentage.
Yeah.
Like that's what they do in a lot of American sports. Like NBA's sort of like win percentage, then that way you're going to get the teams, like even if they've got, say the Rabbitohs got 6 wins, 9 losses. You got the Cowboys ahead of them. They've got 5 wins, 1 draw, 8 losses. The maths, they probably still would fall below the Rabbitohs. But yeah, that's one way of doing it. Let's talk club footy though.
Let's do it. There's a fair bit happening, isn't it? June 30. How many days away?
Well, that's my birthday. Rapidly approaching this. That's Monday. That's 5 days away.
That is Monday, yes.
Terrell Sloan, he looks like he could leave this year, even potentially if he could get a deal done by June 30. Most likely scenario is that doesn't happen before June 30, but he's been given, the ability, permission to negotiate with other clubs and test his value.
I don't think many people will be surprised by this. The coach Flanagan gets in there. He was the fullback. They obviously moved in a different direction, bring Gutherson in with a view of Sloan on the wing to then maybe take over from Gutho, but it just hasn't worked out that way. And when you look at who they've got on the wings this week, Tuipulotu, I think he deserves his spot, but then the other guy, Corey Allen. So in and around those 4 walls, they've gone Corey Allen over Tyrell Sloan. I think that the writing's on the wall there, and he's been at the club for a long time. There's no doubting his talents with the ball and his ability to move and finish off opportunities, but where his issues are defensively and then a little bit under the high ball. It's a shame for Sloan because I know how hard he's worked. This could be one of those situations where he just needs to change the scenery to bring out the best in him, and we see it with a lot of players. They need to move to realise that this dream of playing NRL, dream of playing at one particular club, it doesn't always work like that, and you need that. And I know Sloan has been in a situation where he's never been guaranteed that role, but this is that you hit that square in the face and be like, oh, it's a reality now. I need to. I'm not saying he hasn't worked super hard, because I know he has, but he needs to start focusing on some areas of the game that have led to this situation coming up.
He obviously came through as a fullback. He's played in the wing a little bit as well. Is he a fullback or is he a winger?
I think he'd be best suited on the wing.
Yeah. Because then, wait, one option for him, like if they wanted to get something done for this year, is could you have the Broncos, who have resigned now to the fact they're going to lose Selwyn Cobbo. The Dragons seem to be one of the only teams in for Selwyn Cobbo. Could you do a Sloan for Cobbo swap for the rest of the year?
I think it's possible. I think both I know the Dragons would be pushing for it. I think is Sloan's contracted.
He's got one more year after this year. So Sloan would need to find another deal. Probably wouldn't be at the Broncos, that deal, but maybe it could be that loan style setup, where then he agrees a deal with another club for 2026 and beyond.
With hearing that, I don't know if that would be best for Tyrell Sloan to go to the Broncos for the remainder of this season, then go to a new club. Like, that's not working. That's not doing Sloan any favours. For Cobbo, on the other hand, I reckon he'd go well in the Dragons jumper. I just think he needs, but based off what I hear about his background and situation, especially with those close ties to needing to be close to home, I think he needs more time to move. I mean, look, I'm one of the first people to shoot down the argument of these footballers and they can't move at the drop of the hat, and how would they get schooling or how could you expect anybody to move in such a short time period? I think in this particular case, it's clear that Selwyn would need more preparation to move and to relocate to Sydney. And I think...
Yeah, Sherberg's 2.5 hours drive from Brisbane.
But I think even from a Dragons perspective as well, you wouldn't want to rush that.
Okay.
Like, you really wouldn't want to rush that.
What you want? They need a whole preseason, whole off season.
I think you've first off, you've got to sell the club. You've got to make sure, and even for their due diligence with Selwyn, it's been spoken about that, how he might not be comfortable leaving Brisbane, and you're making moves now, and then you go and meet him, and you don't want it to get off on the wrong foot. You want it to start really well.
Yeah.
So I think maybe just with that runway of, okay, have the summer back at home. We'll give you a training program. We'll keep touching base, and then come November the 1st, we'll hit the ground running. We'll move you down and your family down.
Yeah.
To Wollongong or to maybe in the southern areas of Sydney, and we'll do this properly, because I think the reality of it for the Dragons is Cobbo's not going to come and save their season this year. I think even the most diehard Dragons fan would go, look, yeah, we're in with it. If we go on a run, and maybe that's Selwyn, but I can't see them.
Yeah.
Not at the moment. I think that's something for next year.
Yeah. Speaking of Dragons, we've got a good fan round table show coming Sunday.
Excellent.
Dragons, Tigers and Doggies. Hectic Fred from the Dogs, Lockie Pringle from the Tigers, and Stephen Garlick from the Dragons coming Sunday. That's really good. The other player who might move before June 30, it's looking a bit unlikely now. I mean, we're 5 days out. You never know. You could see something, but Tallyn Da Silva is all but gone from the Tigers at the end of this year anyway.
Just before we do that, Charlie, just on the Cobbo situation and him potentially moving, as hard as it may be, he's likely going to have to leave Queensland because I think the Dolphins pulled out. Cowboys, like maybe, but they're going to. One of the things that was reported from them is they need help now because of their outside back injuries. Whether or not that's still the case next season remains to be seen. So, and then the Titans. He's
also, moving to the Cowboys is more of a bigger move than moving to Sydney, really.
Yeah,
in terms of geographically, how far away it is.
It's a hard one for Selwyn Cobbo. I genuinely feel for him because, again, speaking to people around the traps, he's got so many pressures being and being pulled in different directions. And you want what you want to see for Selwyn is the happy footballer that we know he can be. It's just not been given that opportunity.
Maybe that if he does go to someone like the Dragons, they could hire like a mentor for him who's with him, and around, maybe even someone like GI to be with him, and who could maybe relate to some of the stuff he's going through and help him out. And I don't know.
Well, that leans into my point around, if you're going to bring Selwyn Cobbo to the Dragons Football Club, you've got to do it right, not rushed.
Yeah. He's a talent though.
Oh, mate, undoubted.
Like, it could be a kind of buy for the Dragons that gives them that spark and helps them out, because they're not the club that can buy they've tried so hard to get so many players. Joey Manu was the most recent example of that. They threw their hat in the ring for that. But they're always throwing their hat in the ring for these big name players. But it's like those players aren't even considering the Dragons at the moment.
They're not an attractive destination at this point in time. No. The Dragons, it's unfortunate, because I know how very proud club it is and how great things can be when you are going well down there. But they've struggled for marquee people, and Selwyn Cobbo could be that person.
Da Silva.
Yeah, Da Silva
could be on the move. We don't think it will happen this year. We probably think it's going to be an off-season thing now. They've chosen Api Coruscant over him, though, Jimmy. But there's a ton of clubs in for Tallyn Da Silva. You've got Manly, Knights, Cowboys, Eels. The Dogs are interested as well. Geez, it'd be hilarious if he went to the Dogs as well.
Yeah. For me, I'm not surprised that Tallyn has gone, I'm just going to take a back seat here and just wait. Like, for him, there's no rush to get his future out. There'd only be a couple of clubs that would be able to move with such a small time frame and a time-sensitive issue of June 30, where he can sit back now and wait and see what's available. He's the type of player where teams I could certainly envisage some teams just moving some parts around and going, we'll fit him in like this. Like, by this player might have to go, where you don't have that flexibility to get him in before June 30. Teams will make moves for him. It's a strange one with the Tigers. I still can't figure out exactly what I would suggest to do in their situation, like the short term, long term, who needs more, who doesn't need more, which player do I back? Because like Api's done so much for them, he's been their best, but then like realistically within the next 2 years, can they win a comp? I would say no.
Yeah,
but then with Da Silva there in the next 10 years, you'd say maybe yes. And I still, from a Tigers perspective, don't understand the rush in this. Like, he was a November 1 guy, meaning he was free in November 1 to talk to other potential football or sign with other potential football clubs for 2027. Now, did they want that bad news cycle coming in where he's meeting and signing somewhere else and they're going to play a whole season with him at another club? But
they could have dealt with it then and then let him go then as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you're right.
I think you hit the nail on the head there with if you're building a premiership side, and that's what they're doing long term, Api's not going to be there when they win a premiership. Could Tallyn Da Silva be there when they win a premiership?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'd love to know the justification for fast forwarding this decision, and just on the Tigers and their makeup of their team. And look, they have made some positional changes this week, but Da Silva must be a frustrated figure out there with getting limited minutes when he knows he can contribute. You think back to that game against the Dolphins, and they were down. He comes on, basically was the catalyst for the win.
Yeah. I think he's a really good player, and Api is 33 in November as well. But at the same time, you get why Benji wants to keep him. Like, Benji's going to be judged on the next year and two. That's what's going to give him the chance to get that next contract as the coach. If things go pear-shaped the next couple of years, and does brushing Api affect the locker room? All the players like Jerome Luai and stuff, they've got a lot of influence at the Tigers. Jerome Luai definitely has Benji's ear very closely. and he would be pushing Appy in a dramatic way.
Look, Charlie, I understand that, and look, this is a not too dissimilar situation with the Bulldogs when they were going through their tough times, but they made decisions for the future, and they had the confidence and gave security to Cam Serraldo that this was the man, and we're going to back him long term. So they didn't take that low hanging fruit. They could have signed some certain players that would have increased the chances of winning on a weekend, but long term weren't the right fit for the club. Yeah. And I'm not saying that this is the case with Opi Coruscant. He is the right fit for that football club, but the long term consequences of this decision is Tigers, their fans, their players, their board, their coach, their CEO has to watch another player that's come through their system turn into a star.
Yeah, definitely. And that's maybe keeping those young players happy is what maybe the Tigers need to improve. Is just learning what it takes to keep those young players engaged and understand the process, and make sure Tallyn feels a part of it.
Appy's a proven winner.
Yeah, and sitting Tallyn on the bench and then not playing him, just sitting him on the bench there but giving him 0 minutes maybe doesn't make him feel really part of the team as well.
Yeah, you're right. I just think, again, it's been poorly managed.
Buller's out for the next month with a hamstring injury, so we do get to see Latu Fino and Jerome Luai together. In that second half of the game against the Raiders, obviously Latu Fino came on and sort of changed the game, really straightened up their attack, and Jerome Luai wanted this combination at the start of the year. Obviously Latu Fino, who's had injuries and been in and out of the team because of that, but it's going to be good to see these two and see how they go, because the Tigers, in pretty much every game they're competing, they're almost winning. Yeah,
they're not far away, and you're right, he did make such a difference when he came onto the field against the Raiders. It started to make me think, what were they doing going after Adam Reynolds?
Yeah, odd one. Very odd.
Seems strange.
Yeah.
An unnecessary acquisition or potential acquisition. I think Latu has showed a lot of promise, and he's a very exciting young player. He's got such elite footwork, the way he steps and his ability to square up and almost throw like a half no-looker. He'll add to that. Him and Luai will be an exciting combination to keep an eye on.
Just moving on then, because Manly, we got to preview the round as well, because there's so many good games. Beanie to brain cancer as well.
Yeah,
Mark Hughes does an incredible job. Wade Graham's on the walk this year, but you can get your beanies. You can get them at IGA. There's other places you can get them online, obviously, as well, at the footy games this weekend. But Manly, just quickly, Tom Trbojevic moved to the centres. He didn't really hold back. He obviously did it in a subtle way, but he was on Channel 9 and basically said he wasn't happy about moving. He's accepting it. But I think if he's willing to say that publicly, you obviously know that behind the scenes he's ropeable about moving to the centres.
Yeah, can be honest, I was really surprised at Tommy's reaction publicly, to be sort of half-baked, not quite fully all in on it, when I think this shapes a better Manly Seagulls. Tommy, would surely look back at this season and know that he's not been quite firing on all cylinders, and this is a move to improve him and improve the team, and that's certainly how I see it. We know Tommy Trbojevic can be the best player in the competition when he's at his devastating best, but he's not put that sort of form together for a long time now. But at 28, you're supposed to be at the peak of your power, so he's probably wrestling with that. I reckon there's an element of frustration with his own body as well, and being like, why can't I do what I was doing that made me the best player in the comp? I should be. But unfortunately, his body just won't allow him to. I think Manly now look better. I don't think they were the team. I don't think they are the team that they once were, where they relied on him so heavily. I think he can be effective at centre. I don't think he needs to play that pigeonholed left centre, right centre. He can go and roam like he did in State of Origin those couple of series. Just because he's got the 4 on his back or the 3 on his back doesn't mean he has to, just be constrained to the one side of football. And I think, fortunately, Manly are in a position where they've got Hopewati coming through, but they need a circuit breaker as well.
Yeah. And that's why Seabold's done it, because he understands he's under pressure. Chamis had that article that he has 2 games to save his coaching career. Tony Mestrov shut that down, speaking to Danny Weidler on Channel 9. But, you know, he's obviously doing something, Steve, to try and get a reaction out of Manly. And he's dropped Jason Saab as well for this weekend. They've lost Ola Kawatu to that shoulder injury. But this game's massive on Friday.
Yeah, against a Tigers team that, from memory, they had a big brain fade out last season. It's a difficult task for Manly to regroup, and I think it's going to come down to the playing group. Yes, they're undermanned, they've got injuries, but how much are they going to fight for their coach? Like, just put an 80-minute solid performance together. That's all that they can ask. We've not seen that really much from Manly this year. We've seen patches, but like chalk and cheese patches where their first half is like the polar opposite to their second, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I think for Manly, they just would love a steady performance.
Yeah. And there's parts of the playing group that aren't necessarily happy with Seabold as well. You know, that's kind of out there. Probably have those 7-minute meetings with every player. Mestrov's backed him, but I did a podcast with Buzz Rothfield on Tuesday, and he said that it might not be Mestrov's call, this sacking Seabold. The board might come in and override him.
Well, that can happen, but Mestrov is there. I think if that happened, then it would likely make Mestrov's position untenable.
Yeah.
Because that's what his role is to run the day-to-day operations of the football club. It's a strange one with Manly in those meetings, because every club would have them at this time of year during a break. Every club. But Manly's gets publicised because, you know, recent defeats.
Yeah.
I didn't see this coming with Manly this year. I thought they were genuinely a team on the up.
And the way they started as well, I actually, you know what? Losing Paseka was massive for them.
It was. It was.
Like, huge.
I think, yeah. Like, well, to be fair, I didn't think a coach would get sacked this year, but maybe
There's a few now that could get sacked.
Todd
Payton's under a lot of pressure.
You forget how easy it is for the pressure gorge to come on, and how coaches manage that. Like, yeah. But again, for Manly, I didn't see this coming. They got some big decisions up ahead, and a lot of people made things around Seabold like, oh, he shouldn't be looking that far ahead about not wanting to coach. Well, I don't know. He wants to stay in the game.
Yeah. And there was talk about him, you know, maybe moving into a coaching director role of sorts.
Yeah, but
I don't know. Those coaching director roles, they're kind of roles more reserved for like coaches who have done it all in the game. Is Seabold, I don't know. Is he sort of at that level as a coach?
Like probably not off first glance, first thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens. A man who definitely could be a coaching director wherever he wants. I'm sure any club would take him, Wayne Bennett. We actually spoke about this a while ago and said that the rumours were that Wayne Bennett is being like earmarked for the PNG head coaching job. It's now broken today that's come out, but it's also discussed that he'll have a role at the club. But I think it's going to be the head coaching role. Yeah, well, the stars aligned, didn't it, with the South Sydney deal of 3 years and the PNG side coming into the competition. Wayne at 75 now. I mean, age is just a number for him. We spoke at the start about longevity, the things that Wayne does, because I think, he enjoys them and it's part of his day-to-day lifestyle, tick all those boxes. So he doesn't look like he's going anywhere anytime soon. And I think for a new franchise like PNG, this would be huge. And I know obviously he was the inaugural coach of the Broncos. Things were a little bit different back then with like the squad he could assemble. He'll have learned so much from the Dolphins coming in. Like so much. Yeah. That
can help out this team. And, you know, we talk about the ability to recruit. Well, I think this PNG franchise have it way easier than what people think. I think that the tax-free element is way too beneficial.
Yeah.
Like way too benefit. Like it is
Yeah.
is like life-changing for a number of players.
Yeah, 100%. If you're that $550,000 player, you're basically $1 million player based on the way the tax system works. Instead of getting taxed 47.5%.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting no tax. It's incredible.
In fact, it's better than that because your cost of living expenses will be
and mate, this
minimal.
This compound is extraordinary.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be beautiful villas, swimming pools, great food, catered to the highest degree, security to the highest degree. Players are actually, I think, excited for this opportunity and money talks.
Yeah, of course. Of course it does. And you're underestimating the anxiety of any player at any stage in their career around finances and the finite nature of a sporting career. So, you mentioned there about the $500,000 player and what their contract is. Well, their rent or their mortgage payments are zero.
Yeah.
And if they have a house, then someone would rent that out. That would take care of that. And then if you're on, say, $500,000 a year, maybe you'd put 50 for spends, which is, again, a lot to spend in PNG. You think about holidays and stuff like that.
You're not going out to like the nightclub in PNG.
No.
You're going to be staying in the compound, hanging out where things are catered for.
Yeah, and then when you do travel, that's all taken care of.
Yeah.
So actual
50K spending in the off season, basically.
expenses are an absolute minimum. So let's say you do that, like you're squirreling away $450 for say 3 years. There's like
for life,
there's 1.35 million that you've just got, boom, clear off your mortgage debt.
Yeah,
like
it's life changing for these players.
Versus the player in Sydney that earns $500,000 a year.
Yeah,
is probably take home pay post tax would be about 300. Then you've got rent and or mortgage.
Yep. Which is extremely high in Sydney.
Sorry, rent or mortgage.
It's extremely high in Sydney.
That the groceries,
kids' schools, maybe
tax, schools.
Yeah,
like I reckon the average NRL player that was on a contract of $500,000 would be at best maybe saving $150.
Yeah, all depends on what their lifestyle is, what kids they've got, what
and where they live,
have they got a partner, have they not, all that sort of stuff.
Of course that. But I reckon you'd be lucky to squirrel away $150 a year.
Yeah,
which at the end of a 3-year deal
would be the same as what you get for 1 year in PNG. Say you save $450, well, you could save $450 over in PNG in a year,
and that is doing that. You are budgeting hard.
You'd be flying private as well, I imagine, from PNG to Sydney if you're going to play games as well. Like, there's a lot of players who are excited about the prospect of going there. And of course it's that middle ground. But then if you think about someone like Cameron Munster as well. So his name's starting to get bandied with Perth. And the rumours are that, Melbourne might let Cam Munster go because then they can keep Pezza and Hughes as their halves of the future. Cam Munster goes to Perth. I just went to Perth, 5-hour flight. It's a long way to go. It's a very, very long way to go to Perth to then get paid, then get taxed the exact same with no extra salary cap benefits. Whereas if you Cam Munster, heck, he might get $1.4 million from Perth. He can go get $1.4 million from PNG, tax-free.
I guess
like crazy.
The hardest thing about being in PNG will be the climate.
Too hot?
Yeah.
Yeah, but have you been to Bali before?
No.
You just pop the air conditioner on, jump in the pool.
Yeah, but
it's hot.
Yeah, training in
training, of course. Yeah. Well, what if they could build like they've got in America those like air conditioned facilities, like controlled facilities with like they've got $600 million to spend.
Yeah, true.
Like they get $60 million a year.
But you've got to get accustomed to playing in that environment, which would and should be a huge advantage for that football side.
Yeah, yeah.
But then
what's it like in winter, temperature wise? There, did you ever go play in PNG?
I did. Yes, it was in November.
Hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but you're going to play night games. I imagine you'd have to. But again, like throwing all this in with Wayne Bennett as your coach, like they are onto a winner. And who cares about his age? I can't envisage him being a coaching director. What's the point?
Nah, he'll be the coach. He'll be the coach.
Yeah,
he'll be the coach. And he'll get paid.
And maybe with that, again, a succession plan like they did with Wolf. Like,
their team's going to be stacked. It's going to be probably the best starting team a franchise has ever had, starting in their first year. The only thing is, though, I still find it strange that we're going to PNG. I still find it strange that the teams, because of a geopolitical battle, NRL needs to go and have a rugby league team there. But anyway, it is what it is.
Well, that's part of it, but I think
that's the only reason.
Well, people
really
say, yeah.
It's
I mean,
it's the government.
It's the major reason.
It's the only reason.
It's the major reason.
So with if there was wasn't 600 million there, you think they would be happy?
It's the driving factor, but then there are offshoots from that. There are trickle effects of benefits.
Yeah, definitely. Well, PNG, it's the biggest sport in PNG, of course.
And untapped potential. Yeah. Like, in terms of untapped potential, you don't need to go and explain the game to these people. Like, these people love rugby league.
Yeah.
Like, it's not,
they love rugby league, but they don't love a lot of other stuff. Like, it's a very conservative country.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go to what you'd usually consider like a new market, let's take Perth, for example. You have to spend some money educating the public on what rugby league is. Like, you don't need that with PNG. You know, that you're going to have to, with Perth, you're going to have to develop pathway programs that might not yield any fruit for decades.
Yep.
That's not the case in PNG. So in terms of, yes, we know the major reason is financial and government and geopolitical, but the work that you don't have to do, like, that saves your NRL millions of dollars and you get results rapidly fast-tracked.
Yeah. It's interesting. It really is interesting because also, you know, that team, like, the only thing they might struggle with is those big names, but those, you know, the guys who are like 20 to 6'6" on a roster, in that's like 20th best player to 6th best player, like you're going to have guys who would be in the top 10 teams of any NRL side, be their 25th best player because of the way the salary cap's going to work.
Yeah, it's going to be game changer.
Preview the round, Jimmy.
Yeah, huge round of football. There's so many games that it's hard to pick a game of the round because there's so many that you look and go, oh, that's going to be a classic. That's hard to pick.
The reason that is as well is I think there's no bad teams to watch this year in the NRL. The quality of games has just been unbelievable. Every game gives you something. Even when you think two teams are at polar opposite ends of the ladder, it's always ends up being tight. Tigers Raiders was a great example of that. Completely different ends of the ladder. Was an amazing game to watch. Yeah, the quality is so good.
I like your assessment there, Charlie. All the teams are good to watch. All the teams have exciting players.
Every team's a chance as well in any game. Thursday, big game. Penny Panthers against the Dogs. Nathan Cleary's back. At time of recording, it seems as though he's going to play, though, Jimmy. Lockie Garvin put on the bench, which I thought was interesting. How do you see this game?
Look, I really wish the Penrith Panthers weren't coming off a 5-day turnaround on a flight from New Zealand. I wish they were fresh, but it's the game the Bulldogs need. I'm really interested to see how they come up against this back-to-form Penrith team that I believe from memory have won 4 in a row.
Yeah, the only scalp the Dogs have had this year of real note is the Raiders.
Yeah,
they beat the Sharks. I don't consider the Sharks an amazing win. Talking proper
I think
scalp.
at the time of the game, it was the Raiders. Definitely is the main
Raiders
one.
is a big scalp.
They've
in
not
Canberra.
played the Storm yet.
They lost to the Broncos.
Lost the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Yeah, the draw's been favourable, I guess, when you look at the makeup of the ladder now. But
they've only played 4 games against teams in the top 8 this year.
Yeah.
3 wins, 1 loss in their defence, you know.
75% record.
Yeah.
Quick maths.
Good maths.
I like the Dogs in this one. I know their approach is going to be top notch, and it's a big game for the football club, and I'm backing them to get the win.
I'm pumped we're going to this game.
Yeah, it's going to be good fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Friday, we spoke a lot of...
Just a quick one.
Yeah.
Commentary debutant sourced by Charlie White. How good's that going to be on Triple M?
James Teddy Tedesco.
I'm
making his commentary debut on Triple M. Riley McKay helped sort that one as well. No, it'd be really good. He's obviously, they got the bye this weekend, the Roosters, and he's going to have his first crack at doing something like that in the media. I think he'll go really well.
Yeah, me too. When I saw the rundown, not the rundown, but the roster for this round of football, I saw Thursday, because I know Wade Graham's doing that walk. I was like, oh, who'll be my partner in crime? And then, James Tedesco. Wow.
He'll be great.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, man.
Hope his dad, John Tedesco, tunes in on Triple M and listens.
Sure
He's a great
will.
man as well. The Tedesco family, all wonderful people. Friday, Jimmy, Seagulls against the Tigers.
Are they they're Italian though, aren't they?
Tedesco would be Italian.
Actually, he'll probably be having his dinner while we're calling. He'll have it. Actually, knowing the Italians, they'll go after.
Well, maybe they'll all get together, grandparents and everyone listen to it. Listen to it on the radio.
No, what was I on about? He'll be having his dinner. He'll have his feed after.
Yeah, of course.
Like game finish about 10. Oh, come on, get the garlic bread out.
Get the garlic bread out. How good. Seagulls, Tigers. We've spoken a lot about this game. We've spoken about the halves. We've spoken about the changes. But who do you like? Can I just say something actually on the Tigers? Do you know who I love? Because Tigers they're one of my favourite teams to watch. They're losing lots of games, and I think there's still a chance of the spoon. But they've got some fun players to watch. I love Stafford Toa.
He's very good.
He's a great player.
He can tackle bust his way out of any situation.
So dangerous close to the line.
I know at the start of the round review, we looked at Panthers and Dogs, two teams near the top. And I've made predictions around where I think the 8 is going to be at and looking ahead. But it's that situation now where, boys, we can go on a run here. And we're almost getting to the shit or bust phase. But it's still, this is wide open. I think the top 4 are locks.
Yep.
In terms of they definitely will play finals. I can't maybe see anybody slipping out of that top 4. But I reckon you've got 9 genuine contenders. Those are the 4 spots remaining in the 8. And I include the Knights in that.
Yeah, you have to. Mate, you have to include Knights. Imagine they got that win against the Roosters where the Siwa Wong try, no try. If they end up getting that win, they'd be in the 8, basically.
They're on 6 wins at the moment.
So they'd be 7 and 8 if they won that game.
What favours the Knights is their defence.
Yeah.
It
happens every year, mate. They start terribly. They've got to figure out their preseason.
And they'll go on. You can imagine Ponga returns to form, and we're all going, oh.
Yeah. I mean, they've got the Raiders. It's a tough game to call, actually. In all honesty, Knights are home to the Raiders. But let's focus on this one. Seagulls, Tigers. So both these teams can make the 8 still, in your eyes?
I think it obviously more favourable for Manly.
Yeah,
I think Manly are the team that are having those conversations. They've had their reviews. Let's get our act together here.
Yeah, they have to.
They can't afford to be dropping too many more games in general, and certainly not against a team with a record that the Tigers have. They did that against Newcastle.
Yeah.
They did that the other week. They lost with their last 2 losses, Newcastle.
They've lost to Newcastle. They lost to Eels a few weeks ago. They lost to, who'd they lose to on the weekend? I've completely forgotten who they lost on the weekend. I'll pull it up now.
No, I think they had the bye on the weekend.
So they had the bye on the weekend. Yeah, you're right. Then they lost to the Titans, Knights, beat the Broncos, lost to Parramatta.
Yeah.
Shit losses, unfortunately for them. But who do you like though, Jimmy? Who you picking?
I'm going to back Manly.
I think the Tigers win this. I think they overpower them in the middle of the field.
Yeah, Bole and Terrell May. Matt Lodge in the mixer for Manly.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to back the
Seagulls at home at Brookie Oval.
Yeah.
Friday night, Knights, Raiders. Jed Stewart's lining up for his second game. How good? Try and debut. Hastings is back as well. He's in 5'8", Jimmy, for the Knights, obviously, with the injury to Sharp, who I don't know if he's still, I think he's still in Perth at the moment after that injury. Awful injury. Yeah. But apparently it was like a car accident.
Yeah, that is horrendous injury.
Yeah.
That internal organ. Just
awful stuff.
It is a tough game and a cruel game at times. This game, though, the Knights against the Raiders, I think the Raiders probably put the cue on the rack last week against the Tigers. Really, the middle of the Knights is going to be up to their eyeballs.
Jacob Saifidi's back for them.
Yeah, he's going to be needed.
Hudson Young's rested, which I found really interesting. He's been rested by the Raiders. Origin team's named Sunday. So they're pretty much giving him the game off, get himself right for Origin, play Origin 3, get back into it.
I wonder if he picked up a knock the last time out.
Potentially. They're saying rested. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. And that's that. I reckon it's one of them. he is the type of player that would play through injury and play through pain most weeks. So he's not injured, but he's not rested. I would guess. Yeah, okay, I would guess. But I think that the Raiders should still have enough experience, and they just win at the moment, mate. They're on a roll. They're on a roll.
They're looking at their draw. They should be the favourites for the minor premiership.
Mate, they should. They are.
Yeah. Saturday, another big game, like huge game, honestly. Bronx Warriors. I think it's a chance to prove if the Broncos are actually improving, and it's the Warriors' chance to prove that they're a legit top 4 team as well. Kate Wells back. Halasima drops to the bench. But yeah, it's a massive game. No change for the Broncos as expected.
Yeah. Broncos, from their past run out against Cronulla, you could argue they got away with that. But that win, what it does to confidence is just everything. Like, it doesn't matter how it came about. They'd be spinning the narrative of we fought back, we were great, and there's elements of that are true. The Warriors will be disappointed. I think the Broncos get a win. Yeah, I think it's time for them to turn the corner now.
I think the Warriors get the win. I think the Broncos, I don't think you can trust this form. I don't think beating the Sharks isn't a good win. Everyone needs to realise that. I think if a team's going to miss the 8 that's sitting in the 8 right now, it's the Sharks.
Interesting.
It's not a good win. They beat the Titans the week before. Not a good win.
Okay.
The Warriors are actually just a much better team than the Broncos. In reality, I think this year.
Okay.
And of course, Broncos is a sexy name. Warriors not as sexy. But I think the Warriors win.
Okay.
Saturday, 5:30, Dragons Eels. Zach Lomax revenge game.
Oh, yes. It's he said that he expects to be booed. I think that would be a little bit unfair if he is. Strange circumstances there. And I guess he probably needs to go and just remind Shane Flanagan of how thankful he is for moving him to the wing and everything that has transpired from that switch. This is a big game for both football clubs. Both sit on 5 losses.
5 wins,
Sorry. Both sit on 5 wins. Like, this just... There's a lot riding on this. Like, it just gives you that little bit of separation. Just, I reckon 7 wins will guarantee you don't make the spoon.
Mm-hmm.
Just about. Like, it's not mathematical, but it is, I reckon, and it's just one step closer. And look, with respect to these two teams, I'm saying any team can make the final. The immediate concerns for both of these football clubs is do not get the spoon.
Yeah. I think there's green shoots for Parramatta that they're going up.
Massive, mate.
And I think it's the opposite for the Dragons. I think they're going to slide down the ladder for the rest of the season.
The Eels have been really impressive in their last 3 performances. The 2 losses against the Dogs and the Panthers respectively, and the win against the Titans, which I predicted last week.
Yeah. Junior Baller's having a crack as well. He's going really well.
Jack
really
Williams playing well.
Yeah.
Dylan Brown, welcome back to the team this week.
Dean Hawkins as well.
Hawkins was good.
A couple of games now. He had a great performance against Manly a few weeks ago, and then he was great on the weekend as well.
Yeah. Look, I still think Moses is everything for them.
Yep.
But, Eels for me in this one.
Then Saturday night, Dolphins against the Bunnies, Wayne Bennett against Christian Wolf, Campbell Graham, Cody Walker are both back. Another long-term injury for the Dolphins. Bostock's done his ACL, so Junior Tupu's into the team. Who do you like, Jimmy?
These two played each other in round 1, didn't they? This is the reverse.
Well, this is where the game was meant to be played.
Yes,
and then
at KO Stadium.
KO Stadium.
Yeah,
so then now they've moved
Floods,
it. Now it's at Suncorp. So there's actually 2 games at Suncorp on Saturday here in Brisbane. First game Broncos.
Just don't sneak in. Don't hide in any of the nooks and crannies. Or do if you want.
I think do hide in the toilet. I think hide wherever you can.
I reckon there's a YouTuber or a TikToker out there that is going to aim to get to both matches and only pay for 1 ticket. That said, if you were smart about it, go out there, work for Uber, make the money, pay for the second ticket. I reckon if you're that strapped for cash that you need to hide in the stadium, you need more intelligent ways to earn the couple of dollars that it
depends if you've got a companion to hide with. If you've got a friend to hide with,
it's going to be a fair. Well, in order to hide, you're going to have to miss the last 10 minutes of the Broncos-Warriors game, which I don't think...
No, not necessarily. I don't think you need to do that. I think you can hide. You could probably just hide behind the scoreboard or something. Like hide, behind the big screen or hide in a little nook and cranny or something. Hide in the disabled toilets.
They'd be checked.
Would they check every toilet?
Of course they would.
No, I reckon there'd be a lot of like lazy-ish people. Well, there's lazy people everywhere.
You're making a presumption, like you're backing on the laziness of others. If you're going to stay in for both games, you've got to have a foolproof plan that isn't going to come down to somebody's inability to check a toilet or not.
Why? No plan needs to be foolproof. You can have plans that need a little bit of luck. You always need a little bit of luck in life.
Yeah, you do, but you're going to have to get your $30 ready for the next ticket.
Dolphins, Rabbitohs, though. Who do you like?
Oh, the Souths have got a few players back, and they were so gutsy in that game against the Storm. But then, it's such a big effort to not come away with something. I think the Dolphins will know just how important this game. Well, it's important for both teams, isn't it? Dolphins at home. Yeah.
Dolphins?
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon, Storm against the Sharks. This is the kind of game the Sharks get up for.
It's the game they need, mate.
Yeah. Xavier Coates is back. Oregon Kafusi's back.
That's not great for the Sharks.
No.
I like this game. They put on a great contest a couple of weeks ago at Shark Park. But Melbourne on a Sunday afternoon, if it's dry, good luck. Good luck.
So you reckon Storm by how many?
I think they could do a 13-plus job.
I want to run you through the Sharks' run home for it's tough, Jimmy, because you look at this week, they've got the Storm, then they've got the Dolphins away, which you'd think the Sharks would be the favourites, but I like the Dolphins at the moment more than the Sharks.
Is that without Origin players, though?
That will be without Origin players. So they'll lose the Hammer, the Dolphins, and that's probably all they've got at the moment, I think. Sharks won't lose anyone, which goes to show not a very good team, haven't got any Origin players. Sharks then play the Roosters the week after, which will be after Origin on the Friday. Oh, no, it won't be. No, sorry. They've got the bye next week.
Oh, right.
So they've got Storm, bye, then the week after Origin on the Friday, the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So Hammer, will he back up? Won't he back up? Then the week after, they've got the Roosters, then the Bunnies, then the Cowboys, Dragons away, Titans at home, Knights at home, Dogs away.
No, the Sharks will play fine. Sharks.
I don't know, mate. I don't know.
I know what you're saying, but there's enough there for the Sharks to get enough wins to play finals, in my opinion.
Then Sunday, Titans, Cowboys. You reckon this is a big game, don't you?
Well, it is because, like you're saying, that race for the spoon, the Cowboys, you forget they've got that draw up their sleeve, which is, when it comes to, it's basically a win. Or it just takes 4 and against out.
Yeah,
it takes 4 and against out.
Yeah.
But they're vulnerable, the Cowboys, and they're under pressure. And I think when you're vulnerable and under pressure, you don't want to play a team that can attack like this. I think you'd rather play a more solid team rather than the Titans. I think this is a big danger game.
Purdue's moved back to the centres, so Clifford's into the halves. I always think the Cowboys are better when Clifford's in the team, personally. I find it weird that he doesn't just play there always. And then the other thing for the Titans is Campbell's out. You got a HIA last week. So Weaver goes into the halves. And I often think when they have traditional halves, the Titans, they can perform better. And Weaver's sort of that, traditional 7.
Just give them a bit of direction as opposed to like breathtaking flair and X Factor. Yeah, I see what you mean. Titans for me in this one.
Really?
Titans.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Really open up that race or fight to not get the spoon.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun back half of the year, Jimmy, as well.
It sure
is.
I'm
looking forward. The comp this round especially, I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, great round of football. All right. And then we'll be back next week with all the Origin team news and previews ahead with Cheese and all that jazz.
So, you might be able to go back into Origin camp again for Game 3.
Maybe.
If you want to.
This time when we talk next week, Charlie, you'll be in the next decade.
Yeah, I'm not a big birthday guy. I don't care about birthdays. So. Anyway.
No, that's not true.